My ducks. I think we're just coming up to 8 o'clock. Should hear the bongs. There we go. Bang on time. How we doing? Let's pop open the chat. So yeah, oh wow. Lots of people here. So welcome to everyone. Good to see you all. Let's do a quick hello. I don't normally for Throwback Thursday, but it's the last Throwback Thursday. So we've got the wild one, Liv's Prisma, and Natasha, Ellie, Sandra, Stray Cat, Christoph, hello Christoph, Elizabeth, Neem, Mendy, Claire, Lisa, Waterchild, Sean, hi Sean, Lisa, everybody's saying hello to each other. Adam, hello Adam. Deja Blue, good to see you. Kimberly, Jody, Rebecca, Maharet, John, and Akasha, Al Wasson, Red Moon Venus, Beth, Susan, and Kristen. So hello and welcome everybody. So yeah, the final Throwback Thursday. Can you believe a year has passed already? I was going to end it because we started in July last year. I was going to end it last week, but it didn't fall right because every deck gets 2 chances. So last week it was between the Manga Tarot and Le Tarot di Marseille par Polka. So it only had one go. So I had to do another week. I don't know what I'd have done if it had won. It would have gone on, I suppose, for another week. But par Polka went up against, it's probably unfair, because it went up against the Victorian Romantic, and it was the highest percentage win of the whole year. So the Victorian Romantic won with 74% of the vote. 74%. So 26% for the poor old Tarot di Marseille par Polka. So that's back on the shelf, not to be shown. I always feel sorry for the ones that don't get it. But why stop? Because I can't go on forever. You know, the idea is throwback to old decks, and sooner or later I'm going to catch up. And I am struggling now each week, looking at my decks thinking, is that old enough to be a throwback deck yet? And there's only a certain amount of decks you can have. So so that's thank you, Claire, I do. So that's why. But you know, just because Throwback Thursday's ended doesn't mean something can't take its place. As content creators, you're always trying to think of new things that you can do. So do leave suggestions. If there's a particular series you want to see, then, I mean, I'll have a think too, but leave them in the comments afterwards, in the comments below the video, and we can take a look. So, yeah. But for this evening, do you need some new ideas, Simon? That's what I'm saying. If you have any, then let me know, and I can certainly consider them. Throwback Thursday has been great. Oh, thank you, Kay. I don't have any figured out, but I thought I'd ask. Yeah, and it's, hi, Jackie. And like I say, it's been a year. And when I started this, I said that it would probably be, would do it for a year, just to get through some older decks that need a little bit of time to shine in the spotlight. And that was the whole purpose of it, for those decks that we do walkthroughs, we work with them a bit, they go on the shelf, new decks come in, they're like our shiny new toys, and some tend to get left to gather dust. So I've really enjoyed doing it. and I've really connected with some lovely decks over the last 12 months. So tonight is the Victorian Romantic Tarot, a Baba Studios deck. It's the only Baba Studios deck that's featured in Throwback Thursday. This was their 6th deck that they created. This version is the most recent version, which was released in 2018. I am mindful that it's been out for 14 years though. It was first released in 2006. And I have seen some older versions, but I have to say that I think this is the best version. I really do. Not just because of the addition of their new features like cold stamping and things like that, but they changed some of the cards, and in my opinion, they were changed for the better. I have seen older decks with different cards in them, and I really do think that they excelled themselves with this deck. Drool. Wipe your mouth, Mendy. So yeah. And this deck in particular, it's by Alex Ukalov, I hope I'm saying his name right, and Karen Mahoney from Baba Studios fame. And they really do produce some of the most beautiful tarot decks in existence. You know, mythical creatures, Alice, Bohemian Gothic, and I don't have them all. I never managed to get the fairy tale. If you know, it's on my dream wish list, but if they ever bring it back, and I did write to them and ask them, but they said it's not likely in the foreseeable. I'm waiting on Fantastic Menagerie, which has been paused due to COVID-19, but that's booked. That's paid for, bought and paid for. Yeah, and then they're going to be doing the Bohemian Cats again, which is exciting. So the Victorian Romantic, though, is based on the old engravings from the 19th century artists. And just, shall I go on to the book? Or, yes, I'm going to read a little bit from the book that gives you the premise or the idea behind this deck. It is based on RWS, however, it's certainly not a clone of RWS, but if you were new, I would recommend it as a deck to get. Not everybody would, but I certainly would. I think it's great if you know an RWS system, then this deck shouldn't pose you with too many problems. The reason why I say it's not, you know, a clone, there is some variations. Not all the symbols that you would find in an RWS deck is here, and the art style is medieval. In some parts, it has Egyptian elements. It has Gothic elements to it. It's quite eclectic, really, in its mix. And some beautiful oriental scenes as well. So it's stunning. It's perfectly named the Victorian Romantic. It really does give you that sense. There's even some Greek and Gothic influences as well. I think I might have said Gothic though. What can I tell you? The box that you get in the newer version, if you're able to get one, I don't think they stock them anymore, but they do pop up on auction sites like eBay and stuff like that. Most of the Baba Studios decks now come in these small, compact, sturdy boxes rather than the big ones that they used to come in, and it is beautiful. As you can see here, it's really, really stunning. Beautiful beautiful box. It says these lavishly illustrated cards capture the romance of the Victorian era based on antique engravings, many of which are now rare. This deck offers an evocative period atmosphere and rich opportunities for storytelling. From the creators of the Baroque Bohemian Cats Tarot, the Bohemian Gothic Tarot, and the Alice Tarot, and other well-known decks. So, it does come with a little white book, so you don't have to buy the book. I tend, with it being Baba Studios, I know what I'm getting with their books, and their books are beautiful, really, really well presented. In fact, I've got a few of theirs now. I've got like the Tarot of Prague, which was a gift, the Alice Tarot, Mythical Creatures, etc. So they are worth getting. They sell for around £20, or if you manage to buy the early bird discount, you can get them for about 16. But the little white book gives you enough information. So looking at the LWB, you get 31 pages, and you get an introduction to the Victorian Romantic Tarot, learning the tarot, so it gives you some tarot basics as well, like any good little white book. Tarot reading, tarot spreads, so you get some spreads that you can look at and work with. And then it goes straight into the cards, and you get a sentence or two for each card. So that's what you get with the little white book. But then there is, as I mentioned, the companion book as well, which is sold separately. This one is signed by Karen Mahoney, who writes the books. But I'm just going to read this bit here because when I was reading this earlier, it really kind of gives you the background to the deck. So it says, when Alex and I decided to make the deck, we were driven simply by finding a remarkable old edition of a book of art engravings published in Germany in the late 19th century. Looking through the dusty pages, we were excited by the pictures that we found there. So much of the work that we saw had been largely overlooked or even denigrated by formal art history. Neither pre-Raphaelite nor Impressionist, it mostly fell into the categories of Victorian genre painting or Victorian classicism, which is nowadays quite unfashionable. Yet it was often done with extreme technical skill, and it seemed to us with narrative flair too. These were paintings that first and foremost told stories. We found many images that remind us of traditional tarot symbolism. The devil, the high priestess, and the hermit were all there in pictures. But also there were scenes that Pamela Coleman-Smith, artist of the 1909 Rider-Waite-Smith cards, might have recognised from her own minor arcana images. Everyday people in houses, streets and gardens, knights and queens of past cultures, figures of myth, and more mundanely, circus sideshows, masquerade and theatre people. It was quite a mix, a spectrum of the imagery that interested and inspired the 19th century. It was exciting to realise that these were exactly the kind of pictures that Arthur Waite and Pixie Smith, the designers of the RWS, would have been completely familiar with. European salon art at its most accomplished and popular. And then she goes on to say, and so we began searching and collecting, gathering as many books as we could find that contained high quality engravings from this period. So this book is great. I love this book. It also has, there's an index page here. So in here you get the acknowledgements, the introduction, which I've just read for a part of, a short history of tarot, learning the tarot, reading styles, style spreads, major arcana, minor arcana, then wands, cups, swords, pentacles, the court cards, and a bibliography. When it gets to the minors, you get a lot of information. So it's a really good book. You get like three sides of text. So you get keywords and phrases, a colour image, suggestions for reversals, and then the write-up about the card. And I really like it because they describe the cards as well, and then they list the sources. So it's really where it was based on. So The Magician, this card is based on an engraving from a painting by German artist Fritz Grottemeyer, 1864 to 1947, titled Faust in His Study. So, and I love The Magician in this deck. But anyway, really, really good book, as they always are with Baba Studios. Hi, Shane. Just hello to everybody that's come in. Oh, and that book has 214 pages, which against the 31 that you get with the deck is, I just think it's well worth it. So let's have a look at the cards. So there's more of the box, and these are beautiful, really beautiful boxes, as I said. We get a title card with this beautiful gold foiling, and these cards are stunning. And what's interesting is there's no numbers on them, so it doesn't matter, you know, if the strength card is 8 or 11, makes no odds, because they're not numbered at all until you get to the minors. The cardstock is, people are in two minds about the cardstock, because it feels, when you first pick them up, to be quite flimsy, but these are really high quality cards. There is a core within the cards that protect them, so they're neither flimsy nor too sturdy and too stiff or anything like that. They're really beautiful, high quality cards. So they're not too rigid is the word I think I'm looking for. Neither flimsy nor rigid. The backs are nice. Does this beautiful blue and white reversible pattern. It kind of reminds me of the old Victorian wallpaper. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it was modelled on or not, but, and with this deck, with this version, it has cold stamping, so you do get this beautiful shimmer on the cards. Now, Baba Studio decks aren't cheap. You know, they are an investment. If you buy straight away, which is usually around 6 months before they're released, you can get it for about £60–65, but I believe they go up to about £80–85 to buy when they go on release. But they're worth it. They really are, because the quality and the beauty of their decks are first class, really are first class. So the Victorian Romantic is probably one of my favourite Baba Studios decks. I do think that the Mythical Creatures is really intricate and really beautiful, and when laid out in a spread is just astounding. But these are lavishly illustrated, and they are so gorgeous, and they really do capture, as I said, that essence of the Victorian era with beautiful and elegant imagery. So let's have a look at the cards then. I'm just seeing if there's any, I thought I saw something highlighted, but possibly not. So I hope I haven't missed any questions, but anyway, do they smell really nice? Yes, they do smell nice. What makes you ask that, Jackie? Yeah, they smell lovely. Those are the only two Baba decks I have, Victorian Romantic and Mythical Creature, says Jen. Oh, hello, Jen. Yeah, my first deck I ever bought was Bohemian Gothic. And then it was this one. So this was, or was I gifted Alice, the first edition Alice Deluxe, I think might have been my second one. But either way, in terms of buying, this was the second one. Okay, so first we have our Fool, which is really beautiful. Look at the colours and everything in that. So this is kind of like a circus theme. So as I said, there's many themes, Victorian themes in this deck. Can you all hear that awful noise as well? Like drilling or something. Can you all hear it? So this is really beautiful. I mean, not everybody likes the jester type fall, but we still get that sense, you know, of stepping off, the innocence of the, this is a performing. I don't hear it, Simon. No noise. I'm glad you can't hear it because it's driving me mad. So yeah, so that's our full card, and it's gorgeous. Now I really love our magician. It's so different to the magicians that we perhaps see in RWS. We've got an older magician here. I love the details as well. Do you notice this little skeleton in the corner? I mean, I would imagine that it's because he perhaps studies anatomy. Look at how that pentacle on the floor with a cold stamping just jumps to life. But it's gorgeous. Look at his the light as well in gold. You've got an animal skull up here, all his pots and potions. It's a beautiful card. I don't think I've ever seen this entire deck. You're about to, Neem. Settle in, get your cuppa. So then we have our High Priestess. There is nudity in this deck. I think she's really beautiful. We've got the black and the white pillar. We've got like a cauldron here. And it's stunning. Simon, do Baba decks usually run around the price you paid for this one? Yeah, I pre-ordered this one. Bohemian Gothic I bought because everybody was going on about Baba decks, and I thought I don't have one, so I just bought the Bohemian Gothic. And then of course you're on their mailing list, and I got the pre-order for this, and I'd seen the old original ones anyway, and everybody was very excited about this one. So I got it for the pre-sale price, which is around £65. I think each month you wait, it goes up and up. I think it goes like 65, 70, 75, 80. And then if you buy it when it's released, it's around £85. But because I want the book as well, that's like £100 investment, isn't it? And the book, I think on pre-release, starts off at around 16. So I have bought, as I said, Fantastic Menagerie and book. I think I bought it in January. Isn't that a gorgeous Empress card? We've got the kind of maternal feel, although these little cherubs, but really beautiful. You get the sense of being outside with nature or the plant life. These two little, is it doves? Which is really beautiful. Such a gorgeous card. Oh, size comparison. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Sandra, for reminding. So they are a little bit bigger than your standard tarot. So they are wider and taller. These are really decent sized cards. So, and this is your standard RWS card. So yeah, thank you for the reminder. In fact, did I write down, I'm not sure if I did write down dimensions. No, probably didn't. No, I missed that. Slacking. Good job, it's my last one. You'll be sacking me. So, our Emperor card. Now, this is a new Emperor card from the original. So this was a card that was replaced. And I really like this. You know, this Emperor is consulting with his magician. And the Emperor in this card is Emperor Rudolph II, who was known to consult with an alchemist and magician. So he was fascinated with alchemy and astrology. So yeah, it's a gorgeous card. Hi Neris. I just seen somebody mention your name, so I'm assuming you're here. Are they thinner than I? Yeah, we see when they're not thin. They are really durable. But I remember when I first got my first Babadet, I thought they'd be a bit thicker than that. And then I read about the special card that they use that has this core that strengthens them. So they're really good quality, and that's why you pay a bit extra. Gorgeous Hierophant. He looks like an old mystic, perhaps a rabbi, but you know, imparting knowledge, sacred truths, spiritual insights, passing down from an older generation to the younger generations. It's really gorgeous. Great for riffle shuffling. I can't riffle shuffle, but I'm sure it is. Now, an additional Lovers card was added with this edition. This is the original, which I think is so Victorianly restraint, very romantic. And this is Dante and Beatrice. But it's gorgeous. And then they released this one as well as an additional card. So you can, I think this is beautiful. Look at the metallic blue sky and the golden sun with this cherubim. So you can choose which Lovers card you want. What's people's favourites here? D for Dante and, well, 1 and 2. 1 and 2. What's your favourite? Because we've got 2 devil cards as well. We get 2 lovers and 2 devils. 2, 2, 2, 2. The new one, 2. Everybody likes 2. Ah. Yeah, I've never been able to decide. I do think 2 is beautiful. With this embrace being swept up, that feeling of love like you're floating. But there's something very Victorian. I remember the theme of the deck about this that I really like. So there's a few gone for 1, but most people are going for 2. So then we have our Chariot, which is very unusual Chariot card. I mean, it's beautiful, but you've got these kind of creatures, these winged, almost looks like little demon types, pulling this chariot through the air, and then you've got four females. Yeah. But again, these look out of control. These look wild. So you get that sense of having to take the reins, having to, you know, really steer to stay on track and where you want to go, heading for your destination without being swayed. Strength card is gorgeous. Not just 1, but what I like about this card, even though there's lions and lionesses, there's just 1 that needs to be tamed. The others all seem to be, you know, pretty much under control. But isn't it gorgeous? Hermit, I think, is stunning. And here we have our Hermit out of the cave, out of the dark, and just sitting by the water. Notice there's a nod here to Old Father Time, which was like one of the very early Hermit cards in the old Marseille systems. So we've got the hourglass there rather than a lantern. So it's really beautiful. I love the metallic red, but I love that Hermit. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune. Tower of Prague is also beautiful. I love the Tower of Prague. It was gifted to me. And I treasure it. It's such a beautiful deck. Again, very different Wheel of Fortune, but I get what it's trying to convey. You've got somebody here presenting a crown to this person who's living a pretty simple life. So it's a change of fortune, isn't it? You know, life's about to change. Better or worse, who knows, but depends on your views. But it's a beautiful card. I got the Tower of Prague recently, and I don't love it like I love the Victorian Romantic. Oh, I do. I think it's beautiful. I love all their decks though. I think my least favourite is probably Bohemian Gothic. It's not my, it's probably my least favourite if I had to have a least favourite. Justice is interesting. This is the casting out of Satan. So again, we've got some biblical references here. But you've got your justice, you've got your scales that need to be balanced, the sword, and she's naked, representing her virtuousness, and this is Satan or Lucifer being judged and cast down. Hanged Man is really interesting. So it's a performance. You can see the crowds here watching below, and it kind of makes you want to turn it that way. But what's happening here, I don't know if it picks up, there's suctions on the bottom of the feet, the bottom of the footwear. So it's in a performance in like an old theatre, and she's walking this plank that is turned upside down as almost like a trick. I didn't like Bohemian Gothic. Yeah, Bohemian Gothic is just seems to have this blue hue all the way through it. And I know it's supposed to be like Twilight and that sort of thing, but Fairy Tale and Tower of Prague, I'd die for the Fairy Tale. Death is phenomenal. Look at this death figure up here. Isn't that quite scary? And then they're holding skulls, and it's just really beautiful. What I also love about this death card, it's representing all the various stages of life. You know, there's babies, there's adults, there's elderly, sick and infirmed. But to me, it just represents the fact that death is indiscriminate. You know, is wielding his scythe, and who knows who death is going to take out of this ensemble here. The Temperance is quite simple, but beautiful. It's a really beautiful card. We've got the angel with her two vessels. That was a change as well. That was a card that was changed. Now, for the devil, we have the original devil, which is also the cover of the book, if you remember from the book. And we have a female devil. And it's quite alluring. I love the beautiful flowers, although she's crushing them underfoot. You know, it's really interesting. She's got the snake, the serpent wrapping around her. Can you see here? So that's the original. And then we have an additional one, which I love. I absolutely love this one. So we have this naked male here being enticed by the devil. But look, he's serpent. It kind of gives me biblical vibes. And as it wraps around the tree, it then comes into part human form, this green kind of devil figure, tempting. So, 1 or 2? 1 or 2? 2. Says Sean. 1. It's the trickery. 2 definitely. 2. Yeah, 2 seems more popular. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, I like 2. I think that's beautiful. I think it's a really beautiful card. But I just love that scene. I think it is an amazing scene. So that's the Devil card. The Tower card is quite interesting. It depicts a shipwreck, but you know it's perfect. We've got the storm, the lightning, and you know, if you're at sea, like lots of Victorians were, their mode of transport overseas, then that is your foundations and everything. Whilst you're not on terra firma, being destroyed and falling away, and the peril that you face. Which deck is this? This is the Victorian Romantic Tarot, Joanne. And it's the tall part of the ship. I never know what that bit's called. The mast, I suppose, or the lookout thing, but the tower part of the ship. I think the star is beautiful. I love, it's not just 1 foot or, you know, bathing in, like the Temperance card, which I always link to the star. She puts 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot on the earth, and then the star sometimes kneels with 1 foot in, half submerged here in the water, and just look at the water. I love the fact that she's quite voluptuous as well. It's just gorgeous. We have a moon, very different to our usual moon, although we do have 2 towers and you know, that sort of pathway between. We've got the water. We might not have the crayfish and the dogs, but it's a beautiful, beautiful card. So that's our moon card. The sun card, whilst there is a baby, well, a cherub, it's not on the horse. We have this woman on the horse, but it's a beautiful sun card. You know, it is a summery day. We might not see the sun, but we know the sun's shining, and it's this beautiful abundance of flowers and greenery, and this little cherub, but there she is on her horse. Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it, Jackie? Really beautiful card. And then we have our Judgment card. What I like about this is the fact that we've got a male and a female in angel form. Look at this beautiful green gold. Really gorgeous. And then with our people awaiting judgment, we've got people here that are happy to receive it. And there's this, let me see if I can zoom in or if it's showing. It's a, like, what do they call it? Like a laurel wreath being handed out. And then there's people here not so happy. And it kind of reminds me of when I was in the church days, and my parents have still got it in their hall, where there's a picture of the second coming and half of the people were cowering and the other people were, on the other side were rejoicing. Kind of reminds me of that, but it's the fact that, you know, the judgment card, we're going to have to be accountable for what we've done. Adam's saying 2. He must be behind. Did you press the pause button, Adam? I think he's probably still on the devil card. So yeah, so it's beautiful. And then we have the world card, which is that sort of card of abundance, fulfillment, completion. It's really beautiful. This kind of basket with fruits and flowers. It's just so nice. So that's our majors, major arcana. I'll go a little quicker through the minors. Just have a sup of my coffee. So we have our Ace of Cups, very watery cups feel to this card. This beautiful open shell, and she's the pearl of the shell, and he's diving down into the depths. Oh wow, love this deck. Have you not seen it before, Kay? Two of Cups, so romantic. Which you'd expect, wouldn't you, for the Two of Cups, but isn't it beautiful? There's such an innocence to it. The Three of Cups, our three kind of maidens in joyous celebration. The Four looks like a wedding. Five. We've got the three that are spilled, the two behind. So, you know, if you are familiar, like I say, with RWS, this deck isn't going to be too much of a stretch. Six of Cups, we've got the young boy and girl. Remember, this is the card of nostalgia. I love the Seven. Look at this. I love it. Swinging off. The Eight is gorgeous. Yeah, I had to really stop and think about that Seven of Cups. Because we're used to seeing those choices, aren't we? Nine of Cups. Isn't he the guy, though, from the Nine of Cups? I love the amount of decks that I have where you see the Nine of Cups guy, and he looks the same almost in every... Yes, he is so the Nine of Cups, isn't he? It's brilliantly done. So many decks that I've got where you think, there he is, and he has the same face. And the Ten of Cups. We have that family scene. Looks like a christening or some family get together. I'm so sad this deck is out of print right now. Yeah. And that's the thing with Baba Studios. It is an investment, but I learnt long ago with the Alice Tarot, because when I first came to this online YouTube community, the Alice Tarot was down to her last few decks, and I just kind of looked and thought, oh yeah, tarot about Alice, never really thought any more about it. And then really, you know, started to see people's unboxings of it, and I was like, I want this, I really want this, and I couldn't get it. It was out of print. But as I said, a very kind person gifted me an unopened version, and then it came back a couple of years later in the second edition, and I didn't even hesitate. And I don't think I would now with a Baba deck, because they do go out of print. I'm surprised Tower of Prague hasn't yet, but look how gorgeous that is. Isn't that just beautiful? Our knight. Oh, stunning. And the armour, look how the armour just glistens in different colours. Hi Hexen, how are you doing? I've not seen you for ages. How are you, my friend? Here's our Queen of Cups, which is the front of the box. So we have the devil on the book, if you remember, and the Queen on the front. And it's a gorgeous. The only thing is this little cherub laying flat on his back. I hope he's just resting. Would you purchase the bags? I have purchased a bag. And I've got a couple of sets in boxes that come with a bag. Which bag did I purchase? I think it was the Alice Tarot I purchased the bag for. I'm pretty sure. Although it's not up there and it's down at the back. Yeah. Not always, because I think the boxes are so beautiful that why keep an empty box on the shelf? So, not always. Here's our King of Cups. And then we have our swords. So our Ace of Swords. Wow, it's quarter already. The Two of Swords I really like. Not everybody does, but I really love this card. I think it is so beautiful. Okay, she's not blindfolded, she's not holding the swords, but she's still back to the water, crossed arms. You could really get a sense. Stunningly simple. Yeah. Three of Swords depicts that sorrow, that heartbreak. Love the metallic details. Yeah, the cold stamping on, and most decks now, and I think that's why a lot of them are being brought back, like Fantastic Menagerie, are being redone with this cold stamping. Here's our Four of Swords, the card of rest. There's something, these remind me of the little munchkins in The Wizard of Oz. But isn't it beautiful? From now on, you'll be history. Six of Swords, that boat, it's beautiful. Seven, sneaking away. Eight of Swords, she's kind of like captive look, her arms, her wrists are tied. It's like she's being taken away on a boat, on a ship. Nine of Swords. Ten of Swords is gorgeous. I love this. It takes a while for your eyes to focus. So we don't have the swords penetrating, but we have someone who is really suffering at sea. But look how this wave has formed almost like a sea creature, sea goddess, sea spirit, just embracing. I think it's gorgeous. And the birds hovering above, look. Beautiful. Page. Look at her shocked eyes. Nine of Swords is haunting. Our Knight. Queen. The deck is beautiful. And King. And as I said, the book really does go into detail about the images as well as interpretations. Two of Wands. Isn't she beautiful? The Three. Four. The ocean can be terrifying. Tell me about it. It makes my heart happy. Excuse me. 6. The High Horse. 7. I love the 8. So the 8 of Wands, we're normally seeing those wands flying through the air, swift action, decisiveness, but look at that. And look at the antlers. Isn't that gorgeous? Nine of Wands. And the 10, that heavy load, that heavy burden. The Knight is gorgeous. Not the Knight himself is gorgeous, I'm sure he is, but I mean the card. Queen. And our King. They really had an eye for which picture's chosen, yeah. And remember, they might have chosen them, but they depicted their versions as well. So they would say this image is based on Pentacles. Now, our final, so look at the detail in the wallpaper behind. Isn't it gorgeous? That's why I think the backs are reminiscent of wallpaper as well. Oh yes, so Water Child says, so Baba Studios collectors, do you use the decks? Absolutely. I was going to say I wouldn't really buy a deck not to use, but that's not true if I buy backup. So like with my Alice Tarot, I want to preserve and protect the deluxe first edition, which is exactly the same because that had got cold stamping on, which the non-deluxe didn't, but the cards are much bigger. So I've kind of got two versions, one's larger and in the wooden box. But yeah, I can't buy a deck just to keep it for hoping at some point in the future it'll become valuable. I want to be able to work with them. I love this card. A little performing dog on the drum. And look at her with a little fairy wand. Three. Four Pentacles. The 5 is really good. Again, we get that sense of, you know, somebody needing support outside. They look like they're perhaps selling. She's got little flowers that she's selling to support her child. 6 of Pentacles. Having to discern who to give, who's in need the most. 7 of Pentacles is beautiful. 8. I like the 9, but I do wish there was a little bird. somewhere. I always look for the little bird in the Nine of Pentacles. But it is beautiful. And the 10 is so well done. It's so like the RWS, minus the dogs. But, you know, the couple not really paying attention. The older man in the foreground. The page. Oops, sorry. Just caught off by a comment that flashed up on my screen. The Knight. Oh, look. Rescuing a damsel in distress. She's kissing his hand. Quite beautiful, isn't it? Then we have our Queen of Pentacles. And our King of Pentacles. So there we have it, guys. That's the Victorian Romantic Tarot by Baba Studios. And the last deck to be shown as part of the year-long Throwback Thursdays. So don't forget, do let me know if, or some ideas for a series. I'll be back, well, Saturday is the Tarot Times, myself, Becca and Elle, on the Tarot Times channel. Saturday, I'm not quite sure the exact time yet, but it'll be early evening. We'll put something up, so look out for it. And what else? Next week, I've got an interview with Nina from Shuffle Tarot, so I'm really excited about that. And I've got some pre-recorded videos to do as well, so there'll be more to come. So thank you, whether you've been here for the whole year or part way through. I've really enjoyed doing this series. It's been fun to look at some older decks and reconnect with them and work with them for a few days in preparation for doing this series. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for your time this evening. Have a great end to your week. It's Friday tomorrow. And until next time, guys, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.